Hey all, here at OS Reviews. In this video, we're taking a quick look at the XDIGI PB2100 power bank. And I know what you guys are thinking, oh no, power banks are not the most exciting category, but I thought this one was quite cool thanks to a built-in display, which can show you the input as well as output charging speeds, in addition to giving you some inspirational quotes as well. Take, for example, this one, miracles do happen in bad luck. And there are supposedly hundreds of various quotes that randomly gets displayed as kind of a screensaver, and they very rarely loop or repeat. Now, some folks may think that that's a little bit gimmicky, but it just makes the product feel a little bit more customized and, in my opinion, slightly fun, kind of cheering you on as you are charging your products. It also displays the charging time, battery health, as well as the thermals inside as some useful extras. Here's one more quote: "To learn to swim, you must be in the water." So anyways, the power bank itself is powered by GaN or gallium nitride, like most of the higher end power banks these days, allowing you to support up to 130 watts output despite being pretty slim and lightweight. So it can fully charge up laptops, including MacBooks, smartphones, really without too many problems. Includes two USB Type-C outputs, as well as a USB Type-A full size that can supply up to 18 watts. For smaller appliances, capacity inside is 20,000 milliamp hours, which makes it airline safe as well, so you can take it onto flights without too many issues. And there's also some soft touch rubber as well that will prevent it from sliding around when you are setting it down either flat or even upright. And otherwise, it serves as an alternative to maybe some of the other power banks on the market from Anker, Baseus, and also Xiaomi's ecosystem brands like Kooktek that we saw at the start of this year. And I use those as references because there are some of the other brands that we've seen in the past also put displays on their power banks, giving you similar status info at a glance, including the percentage remaining more precisely, as well as the charging speeds. So although it's not our first time seeing a power bank with a screen anymore, at least it joins those ranks of other ones which are just a little bit more smart. That being said, the XDIGI power bank here does not come with any companion app software, so there is no Bluetooth built on in, for instance. Not that you really need one, I would argue, for just a power bank, but the aforementioned Baseus Blade there does have an optional app that allows you to change the wallpaper on the screen, which I guess might have been an interesting extra. For example, if they allowed you to push over your own favorite quotes as an alternative to the default quotes that they have in here, which is kind of like a random loot box of sorts. So you can't really customize what the screen says, it's all just baked into the system's memory. A couple of top-line specs, so the 20,000 milliamp hour capacity is rated to charge a MacBook Air around 1.2 times. Most smartphones can be charged around 4 to 5 times, depending on the capacity, and tablets around 2 to 3 times. The power bank itself can be charged up in just around an hour and a half, relatively fast for a large capacity, can charge 3 devices simultaneously. Total weight here is under 1 pound, again relatively compact for the capacity. Furthermore, it also has a trickle charging mode for smaller products like smartwatches or wireless buds that require minimal voltage for it to be charged up. You can enter a low charging mode as well, and guaranteed to be protected against all of these various elements, including short circuit protection, overcharging, overvoltage, so on and so forth. And inside of the packaging, aside from the power bank itself, you have just a quick user guide as well as a bundled USB Type-C charging cable. And we have some of the specs printed on the back of the box as well as on the power bank itself. So the first Type-C port can draw up to 100 watt maximum, and then the second Type-C is up to 30 watts. So just keep that in mind. That first one here is both for charging input and output, and that's going to be the fastest port. If you're instead charging using the second Type-C port, it will be a little bit slower. So again, for laptops, more power-hungry phones, you would ideally want to use that C1 port. Otherwise, operating the display is quite simple. You can tap once to wake it up, going through a carousel of functions that we saw there from earlier as an IPS LCD screen. It's not a touchscreen, just like on those other power banks though. You just click on the button to navigate into the next panel. Pretty easy to read, all things considered. And there's even a screen rotation function, so if you want to flip it orientation around onto something like this, you can hold for a couple of seconds to switch that around. We can also double tap quickly to turn on and off the trickle charging mode for smaller appliances, as well as allowing us to go into the randomized inspirational quote as well. I think, therefore I am, the past belongs to death, and that the future belongs to yourself. So it's kind of like a magic 8-ball as well, where it's kind of telling you your fortune, and you don't really know what quote is going to pop up. kind of interesting. That being said, it would have been nice if they also displayed the author of the quote maybe down below as an added info, but not a bad idea. It's just you don't get a lot of customization in terms of maybe genre of quotes, sorting it by category, for instance. It really is just a total black box there, but still kind of fun, I have to admit. Let's actually try supplying juice to the other power bank here, since both will support GAN, and we can see the input and output speeds a little bit more clearly. So now it's trying to, again, fill up this particular Xiaomi ecosystem power bank, and as we can tell, the percentage there is going up, currently drawing, it looks like, around 55 watts. Let's also verify what the display on the XDIGI here says, and we can confirm that, again, it is around 58 or so watts, going up a little bit more as time goes on, and also the remaining percentage left. Now plugging in a smartphone using the second Type-C port, after a moment you can see the charging there has started, currently drawing around 20 watts for that second port, also slowly going up a little bit. Again, the specific charging rate might vary a little bit depending on the percentage of juice left in your phone or device's battery. For instance, if it's lower than a certain percentage, it might be charging a little bit faster, but once it reaches, let's say, 80%, it will probably slow down a bit to preserve on the battery health, which is why it's also rated to charge 50% of a MacBook Air or laptop's battery in just around 30 minutes, and then the remaining time becomes a little bit slower as it gradually becomes more and more full. One more test here, plugging it into a laptop, and we can verify that once again with this particular Chromebook it is drawing around 40 to 50 watts. So indeed, thanks to the GaN or gallium nitride technology, it's able to charge up, again, more power-hungry devices like laptops with Type-C really without any issues, despite a smaller form factor. And I think that the size here is kind of impressive considering the 20,000 milliamp hour capacity again, so it remains comfortable enough to slide into a pocket when you are traveling, surprisingly a bit more compact compared to the comparable Kook as well as Anker power banks, which also have a display, are a bit more blocky by contrast, as you can tell. Granted, these are also a little bit larger by around 5,000 milliamp hours, which might add maybe one extra charge cycle to a phone, but you are getting a significantly slimmer package on the XDIGI here as well. And here's also a side-by-side with the other Baseus blade that we mentioned earlier with the screen, going after slightly different design philosophies though, this one being as slim as possible. However, it's also going to be a bit wider, and so overall I think this is a pretty good balance of the two, being still, again, slim enough for most backpacks and pockets that you're sliding it into, while making the width also a little bit smaller as well. And if you're charging 3 devices simultaneously, it's smart enough to stop charging a single device if it reaches 100%, while continuing to charge the other devices. During operation, it also remains relatively cool in terms of thermals. So there we have it. That's a closer look at the XDIGI PB2100 power bank. Another alternative if you're looking for a model with slightly more kind of features there at a glance, as well as that interesting automatic random quote generation function that is not something you'll find on any of the other models that we looked at in the past, giving it just a touch of fun and personality. So if you're interested, you can check out more details in the links down below. A pretty solid performing power bank, all things considered. Plenty fast enough to top up phones and laptops alike. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That has been a closer look at the XDIGI PB2100.